Hi, this is James Page at the INCA Conference 2023 here in Birmingham, and delighted to have Ronan Kelly from Adtran with me, who we've just grabbed from the plenary stage. Ronan, thanks for heading straight out and coming and having a quick chat. I wanted to grab you because it was a really interesting opening. You've been a little bit provocative this morning. Sure. You were setting up something where we were discussing whether or not the party is over for the altnets. Well, let's answer that question. Is it?
No, fundamentally not. It's the topic of our talk for this year. It was really provoked by, I suppose, a lot of the negativity coming out of the pundits commenting on the industry. When I was asked to cover off this opening plenary by Malcolm and the team at INCA, I said, you know what, actually, I'd like to take a look at the data that represents the market and see, is that aligned with the negativity that we're hearing about out there in the marketplace? And fundamentally, it's not. As you saw what we presented today, the rate of build-out continues at record pace. The rate of subscriber additions is doing really, really well. And when we juxtapose that to the rate of fibre subscriber additions when compared with other European peers when they were at the same stage in their build-out journey, we're actually outpacing them all. So there's no question the market is doing extremely well. We can't afford to become complacent. We've got to keep focused on getting subscribers on the network and driving towards profitability. But the negativity that we're hearing out there, to me, it's not founded.
Okay, well, you have great experience of the European situation through your tenure as the FTTH Council President, and there was a really interesting slide that you showed which looked at, just as you said, where we are on that journey compared to some of our competitors, and you were suggesting where normally perhaps we might suggest the UK is behind our European competitors, you were saying in some data points we're ahead.
So if we look at the number of homes passed that were added onto the UK landscape in the last 12 months, that is at record pace. I've tracked the Fibre to the Home Council data for over 10 years, and any country that's hitting in excess of 4 million additional homes passed per annum should be applauding themselves. That's phenomenal pace. And I would argue for the large population centres of Europe, it's probably peak pace. I wouldn't expect the smaller population centres to be able to hit that pace because they don't have the same scale, but for the large population centres, that is peak pace. Subscriber additions, as I mentioned, are ahead. They're further along. The year-on-year growth rate of fibre additions versus our peers on the European market when they were at that same phase of 50% build out, we're actually ahead of where they were at. So take rates are stronger. The pent-up demand in the UK market for these fibre-based services is stronger as well.
Great. So do you think, is there any correlation, or is it causation, we're sure we've got the right terminology, but just thinking about when people have looked at consolidation, and you said we haven't seen the consolidation that maybe some would have expected, is a reason for that the fact that take-up is stronger than might have been expected? Because does that mean there is more money coming into those companies, so there's less need to consolidate?
I certainly believe that's probably part of it. I fundamentally believe we will see the consolidation within the marketplace, just like within any healthy market. You know, the markets typically consolidate down to a smaller number of large players. And at the moment, the UK market is still very highly fractured. We will see some of the bigger players seek to capitalise on entrance opportunities and expansion opportunities by mopping up some of those smaller players. But I'm not necessarily seeing it play out as in all being in the form of distressed assets. And I think that's where a lot of the pundits have gravitated towards. That's the easy choice. Oh, they're all going to run out of cash. They're going to get sold for cents in the dollar type conversation. I'm not necessarily seeing that bear out at this point in time. I'm not saying it's not going to happen in the future, but certainly what we're seeing at the moment, we're seeing good growth, we're seeing good subscriber additions, and that can only be helping those operators who are seeking an exit, and many of them are. Many were built to be sold, you know, but those ones that are seeking an exit, that they can achieve a fair valuation for the business as opposed to trying to offload it as a distressed asset.
Great. Last one, which is really interesting at the end of your piece. Video on demand has peaked or is now on the downslope. Is that the end of video on demand?
No, it's certainly not the end of video demand. Like, the reality is, going forward, everything is going to be delivered over the top. So by no means is the end, but what we have seen is, with regard to subscription rates across households, that has started to soften. I don't believe it's going to suddenly fall off a cliff, far from it. A lot of people, that's their primary source of entertainment within their households. But what we have seen post-COVID, but also during this period of very high inflation where people are, they're really feeling the pinch in their pocket, we have seen a softening in the number of subscriptions. It's started to fall off, and that's uniformly across all of the subscription-based VOD services. So, there's no one solution that's been earmarked within that, and I think that's just normal market dynamics. I think for the service providers, what it means is we felt the peak. We know what it does to our networks, and we can sleep easy at night knowing these XGS-PON networks that we've all built are well able to cope with it.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you for giving us some of your time, and for more than that, giving us your expert views. Have a great conference, and thanks for talking to us.
Thanks so much. My pleasure.